We spoke about Shabbat. We said that Shabbat is the source of the blessing. Like you see that God blessed the Shabbat and sanctified the Shabbat. We spoke a bit about the manna, right? That God, Rashi says that he blessed the Shabbat that you get a double portion on Friday, right? And it won't come down on Shabbat. So we explained that the manna is also, right, not only the food in the desert, it's actually showing us, teaching us that when God is taking care of us, right, he'll provide you. Just like God provided in the generation of the desert, he gave them the manna. So also over here, right, it's always to remember that if you do what you have to do, God will take care of you. That's really the message, right? So don't be concerned that you're keeping Shabbat, you're losing money, right? We say that's wrong, because God that wants you to keep Shabbat, you won't lose from keeping Shabbat, you'll actually perhaps gain from keeping Shabbat. Shabbat is the source of the blessing for the whole week to come. Was okay? And you saw it, and the idea is like this, you see? Really, the idea is like this. Why God is doing it that way? That they'll get a double portion on Friday and Shabbat is not coming down. What is he really doing? Training them and teaching them already that Shabbat is different, right? That when you come into the land of Israel and you'll have to work, right? Well, you'll work 6 days and you'll rest on Shabbat. Shabbat is different, okay? Okay, guys, just on that note, I'd like to mention to you the idea is like this. I mentioned to you yesterday, I even told you a story firsthand, right, of a fellow that his grandfather, right, it was one of those that came in the early 50s to America, and then in those years, not to work on Saturday, not to work on Shabbat, basically you were fired immediately, right? It was hard there were barely people that were keeping Shabbat, full Shabbat, because it was very hard. Some of them, like I told you, felt that it's pikuach nefesh. It's a question of life. So, it was a great rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. You heard about him in America? And he said the following. Somebody came to ask him, and he said to him like this. He passed away already. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein passed away already, I believe, like 25 years ago, right? Interesting, his funeral, they brought over his body to here. He wanted to be buried in Israel. And his funeral, guess what day it was? How about Purim? So it happened to be that, right, his coffin arrived here in Israel it was on Purim. Now, Purim is not exactly a day, you know, that people are very busy on Purim, right? The mitzvahs of the day, right? Having a nice meal, mishlach manot, getting drunk a bit, right? So it was on Purim, and you're talking 25 years ago, close to 400,000 people came to the Levaya, to the funeral. Even when they say no eulogies, but it doesn't mean that no one will say a few words, just to chizuk, as they say, to wake inspiration. But you're right, there was no eulogy, just they brought to that, and was buried in Har HaMenuchot. So interesting, just a phenomenon, we mentioned him, 400 people. Now, most of the people actually didn't see him in their life. Never saw him. So how come they came to the funeral? Because he was a great rabbi, and you know what they knew? They knew his books, right? And they knew the halachot that he wrote. Questions were sent to him from all over the world, right? And he answered the questions. So even though they didn't meet him personally, but they knew who he is without to meet him. And respecting the rabbi, right? They came in Purim, thousands of people, to be in his funeral. Okay, guys. So family, it was a story that they say like this. So they come and they ask Moshe Feinstein the following. How it could be that you have, this is going back in America in those days, families that the father really sacrificed his life for keeping Shabbat, right? And his children rebel, so to speak, and they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to keep Shabbat, and they left or keeping Shabbat or keeping Torah altogether. How it could be? The parents, right, sacrificed and gave so much for it, right? They were so devoted and sacrificed for it. How it could be that the children rebel and don't want to keep Shabbat? That's what Moshe Feinstein was asked. Okay, and you know what was the answer? The answer, he said the following. It depends what was the reaction and what was the response of the father. When he came Friday night and he did Kiddush and he was krachtzin and he's saying, don't ask what happened, right? My boss wants to fire me again. I'm keeping Shabbat. Don't ask how hard is it. I have to leave the last minute the office, right? Or the factory or whatever because I have to run for Shabbat. If you do it in a negative way, right? What's the message to the child? It's so hard to be Jewish, right? So the son could say, great father, you're a great man, you're a hero, but this is not for me, right? Very simple. That will be the reaction of the child. If the father is complaining, right? Krachtzin, he used to say, the Moshe Feinstein used to say in Yiddish, if you say it's schwer to be a Jew, if it's hard to be a Jew, your children won't buy it. It's not going to go over to the next generation. But if you come back, right, Friday, and you're happy, and you say, yes, okay, we have challenges, and sometimes things are not so easy, right? But, we believe that the Torah is true, and Hashem will help us out, right? And you're showing the pleasure of being Jewish and keeping the mitzvot and keeping Shabbat and enjoying the Shabbat, right, in a nice way, that will go over to another generation. That you could give over to another generation, that the child will buy. And what's the idea? Happiness. To show the mitzvot are given to us. It says, Drachea darkei noam. The paths, the ways of the mitzvahs is pleasant. Joy. We have to understand that we should be happy that we have the opportunity of doing the mitzvah. Pleasant joy, and that will go over. Okay? It says that the Jewish people will be punished also because they didn't do mitzvah with happiness. What's so bad? So you did the mitzvah, but without happiness. What's so bad about that? The idea is like this, that God wants you to do the mitzvah like I told you, that it's pleasant, it's joy, you're doing it with a full heart. And if you're doing it with happiness, you're doing it with a full heart. But if you're doing it without happiness, what is it, Yeshua? It's external, right? It's like paying tax. You do it because you have to do it. You don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So that's the difference between paying tax and, right, doing a mitzvah. A mitzvah should be with a full heart with happiness. That if it's a big lack of that, right, so it shows it's missing, is the essence of the mitzvah to doing it with happiness. If you're doing it without happiness, it means it's external. You do it because you have to do it. Right? So, right? The certain things in life we do because we have to do. You go to the grocery and buy stuff, right? Because you have to. You need stuff in the house, right? You enjoy go to the grocery. You do it because you have to do. The ideal of the mitzvah and the real perspective and the attitude and the way we should do is the mitzvah is with happiness. That means that you're doing it with a full heart. Okay, guys. So that was the answer of Moshe Feinstein, right? Right? It depends. How did the father respond for these challenges at that time? Okay, the key is happiness. Okay, guys, let's go on. So page 411. So verse 12, right? So I'll read in the Hebrew. Kabed, honor, et avicha, your father, ve'et imecha, your mother, leman, in order, ya'arichun yamecha, you'll have a long life on the adama, on the earth, asher Hashem Elokecha, which Hashem your God is giving to you. So which commandment is it? Which number is this? Fifth, right? Number 5. Where is this, right? No, we said there are 5 commandments that are between man and God. And the second 5 are man and man. So why this is here? Why to honor the parents, right? Father and mother are in man to God. Shouldn't it be in the second set? Is the question clear?
Yeah.
Good. Answer. Yeah?
Because the way you respect your mother and father is the way you respect Hashem. If you don't respect your father, then Hashem says, if you don't respect him in front of you, how can you respect me?
Okay, very good. So you're saying good. Let's just add to it. So, okay, is the question clear? Yeah, you okay? So this is man to man, right? So it seems that it should be in the second 5, not in the first 5, right? So why honoring the father and mother are in the first 5, which is man to God? So the answer is like Shlomo said, but let's just add to it a bit, guys. The idea is like this. The first, on a simple level, the Talmud says that there are three partners for every human being. Who are the three partners? Father and mother and Hashem. So now that already answers the question, right? Hashem is saying, honor your father and mother because they are my partners, right? So you're honoring one partner, you're actually honoring all partners, because if they're really together, right, they're all happy together. So that's just on a simple level, right, answering the question already, yeah? Three partners in every human being. So Hashem says, honor them, you're honoring me. But a little bit more than that, the Sefer HaChinuch, is a book that counts all the mitzvot. We have the tradition of 613 mitzvot, right? And the Sefer HaChinuch, now in the Torah itself, guys, in the written Torah, it's not counted. Even in the Mishnah, is not counted what are the 613, and even in the Gemara, no. Only in the Talmud is brought down the number 613, but it doesn't give you a list what are the 613. You hear the idea, okay? The one that really start to count the mitzvot and get to the number 613 is the Rishonim, the early commentaries like the Rambam and others, okay? Or the Gaonim, Rab Sadia Gaon, okay? So there's a book called Sefer HaChinuch, very common, very popular, that he counts the mitzvah and gives you a bit of reasoning to the mitzvah. What's behind the mitzvah? So he says like there, if a man will appreciate what his father and his mother are doing for him, that will bring him to appreciate what is God doing for him. So, right? So that's what you said, or that's why you're a little bit different, right? The idea is like this, that if you appreciate, right, what your mother do for you, right, so much, usually, right, they do to you so much, will bring you to appreciate what God does for you. Okay? And the idea is that that's a very crucial idea also in Judaism, hakarat hatov. You heard the two words in Hebrew, hakarat hatov. Hakarat means to recognize, right? Hatov, what's tov? Good. Meaning when somebody did you a good deed, you should remember and recognize it and don't deny it. Okay? And that's a very important point, because God is saying, right, if you really appreciate what your parents are doing for you, you'll appreciate what I do to you. God created the world. God created all the species that we have in the world. Fruits, vegetables, you could breathe, walk, right, go, right? You saw the stickers, Baruch Hashem, Ani Noshem, right? So the Ani Noshem. No, Noshem, breathing, right? So it's a nice sticker, right? Baruch Hashem, Ani Noshem. Right? Thank you, Hashem, I'm able to breathe, right? So just that you wake up in the morning, you're able to breathe, walk, go to work, right? Learn Torah, study Torah, do mitzvah. That you should be thankful. But that's the idea, to appreciate and to recognize it. Now, how far we go, let's just explain a minute, how far we go with this idea of, to recognize and not deny, right, that idea when somebody did to you something good. Hakarat hatov. So if you look in the Torah, guys, it's very interesting. Moshe is speaking to Pharaoh, let my people go, right? Pharaoh says, no, I don't want, right? So it starts negotiation, right? And then we start the 10 plagues, right, on Egypt. The first one is hitting the river, right? Who hits the river, Moses or Aaron? Aaron. Why Aaron?
Something to do with water.
Absolutely, right?
Because Moshe came from the water, so he wanted to respect the water.
Okay, so, why Aaron hit the river and not Moses? The answer is what Yeshua said. You hear the idea, guys? The idea is that Moshe did not want to hit the river because, right, when he was a baby, was a decree. One of the decrees of Pharaoh is to throw all baby boys to the river. And he was born early. Moses himself was born early. His mother gave birth when he was like 7 months of pregnancy. So they build the ark, right? And they hide him in the river, in that ark. And what's interesting is that who finds him? The daughter of Pharaoh herself, and she has mercy on him. But anyways, right, Moses was saved, right, in the ark in the river. So the water, so to speak, saved Moses. So Moses doesn't want to hit the river, right, for that reason. You hear the idea? Okay? Now, let me ask you, does the water have feelings? No? So what you're telling me here, Moses doesn't want to hit the water because, right, the water has feelings?
It's the same reason we cover our challah when we're on Shabbat night before we say Kiddush. It's because it's not that the challah or the river have feelings. It's the fact that we have to show that if we have respect for the challah and we have Moshe had respect for the rivers, even more so for other people.
And it's more to improve ourselves. We cover the challah so that we don't get in the habit of making kiddush when there's bread on the table, just so he didn't hit the river, so he's not in the habit of disrespecting him.
So the answer is what Sam said. When somebody did to you a good deed, right? And we're talking here about parents, right? To recognize the favors that they take care of you, help you out, right? Or God, or any friend that did to you a favor. The idea is like this: when God wants you to recognize it and to appreciate, to make you a better person. That's the idea. And the idea is like this: even, right? Moshe is teaching us, even the river, the water has no feeling, but you should respect and honor the water saving you, right? And it doesn't matter if that object or that something in the world won't realize even that you're giving him back a favor, so to speak, right? Doesn't matter. It's because it's the making you the better person. And that's the message to us. That's what we're learning from here. That we go so far away that Moshe doesn't want to hit the water, doesn't want to hit the river, is because he showing us that the main idea of the mitzvot is to make us better people. Training us. The more good deeds that you do, you become a better person. So that's the idea. Training us, the idea of thinking about the other one, knowing of what the other one did to me. When he did to me a favor, I don't deny it. So obviously, guys, when we're talking about a human being and I give him back a favor, even better, right? So somebody did to me a favor and I give him back a favor, you're great. But what we are learning here is that even, right, something that has no feelings, any objects or anything in the world that has no feeling, is the idea of hakarat hatov, remember the good that they did to you. Okay? The same thing, guys, I'll mention another thing. It says in the Torah that if you find out, when you slaughter an animal and you found out that wasn't a healthy animal, right? Right? That's called treifa. You found she has a hole in her lungs, right? Or any dead body, right, that you can't eat because it was not slaughtered, right? Nevela or treifa. So it says in the Torah, one of the places, you know what you do? You throw it to the dogs. Why you throw it to the dogs? What's so special about the dogs?
Because they once come from the Middle East, he said,
correct.
So,
that's right. Very good. So it says that when the Jewish people, right, left Egypt, the dogs did not bark, right? They kept quiet. So we recognize that and appreciate that, so we throw it to them, we give them the meat, the flesh that we cannot eat. Now, let me ask you, obviously we all know, right? Is it the same dogs of Egypt? When I throw now meat, flesh, right, is it the same dog that was in Egypt? No. So what's the point? Right? It's past a while from when we went out of Egypt, right? So what's the idea that I'm throwing flesh and meat to the dog? Right? The idea is, again, the idea of hakarat hatov is to remember to make you a better person. So it doesn't matter if you have somebody that is receiving a benefit from it or no, or remembers that you're doing it because of a favor, right? Because it's training us, teaching us just to be better people. Okay? So that's that's the idea of honoring father and mother, right? And like the chinuch said, that will bring us, if you're full with this, complete with this, you're doing right, you understand it well, that will bring you to the conclusion. Why? If I honor my father and mother, that means I should really honor God, right? And that'll bring you to the conclusion to honor and respect God. Okay, guys, how you honor and respect your parents? What happens when your mom says to you, make your bed?
You make the bed.
Listen to them.
Right. So honoring, respecting the parents is listening to them, right? Practically speaking, it says that if the father or the mother have a special chair in the house, so it says not to sit on that chair. Children should not sit on the chair of the father or mother. If it's a special chair that they usually sit, they shouldn't sit. Shouldn't contradict them. If a father or mother say something, do not contradict them, right? So now, practically speaking, you might say that there are times in life that maybe you disagree, so you have to find a way and say it in a nice way. You can't go directly and say, that's nonsense, right? Or, right? You can't do that. So practically speaking is showing honor and respect in life, right? Not to sit on a chair, not to contradict them, not to scream on them. It says even in the Talmud that even if a father is taking a wallet, right? Your wallet with money and throwing it to the water, just keep quiet, don't scream on him. The Tur, there is a great commentary, early commentary called the Rosh, and his son is the Tur, which wrote a major structure for Jewish halakha, the Tur, okay? Before the Shulchan Aruch was written, was a book called the Tur, that's the son of the Rosh. And what he does, he brings quotes from the Rambam, from early commentaries like the Rambam, the Rif, right? And his father. And sometimes he wants to disagree with his father. So he says, my master, my teacher, my father, he honors, respects him, and says, right, says different, right? He doesn't, right? So when he wants to say a different opinion, right, he says his opinion, and he says, but my father and master and that said different. He doesn't say, I disagree, right? He's just bringing the opinion and saying, I think, let's say, like the other two commentaries, let's say the Rambam, right, and the Rif, and my father, the master, right, says differently. Okay, so Moshe is asking, what happens if a father or mother say to a son, don't keep Shabbat? What do we do? So the idea is like this, you see, if it comes to a conflict to break a law in the Torah, you have to listen to God, right? Because what's the idea? Because your father and mother, they themselves are commanded to listen to God, right? So to speak, right, it's like in the army, guys, right? You have an officer, right? The parents are the officers, but you have a chief officer, for example, right? So if the chief officer gives you orders, right, everybody has to listen to the chief officer, right? Even the simple officer has to listen to the chief officer, yeah? You understand? So the parents are like the officer for this matter, right? So you have to listen to them. They give you orders, you got to listen. But if they contradict what the chief officer says, so they're outvoted. Okay? So just the idea is that if the conflict something from the Torah, you don't have to listen to them. But practically speaking, I'll just tell you, be wise, and you got to do it in the right way. Okay? So especially when we have it a lot in yeshiva here, when guys, right, show interest of getting into more Torah and mitzvot, and sometimes the parents are not so happy, you have to handle it in the right way. Don't tell the parents, you're not right and you're wrong, and I want to do Torah, and you'll go to hell and I'll go to heaven, right? Don't do that, right? So you heard it clearly from me, don't do that, right? So you have to do it in the right way. Guys, the idea in life is, even when you're right, you got to be wise and do it in the right way. If it conflicts directly something in the Torah, you listen to God, because there's a verse in the Torah that says, keep my Shabbat, right? And fear and respect your father and mother. Why is it in the same verse? Keep Shabbat and fear your father and mother. What's going on here?
To clearly show the order.
Okay, very good. Very good. Right? It's clearly to show you the order. Keep Shabbat no matter what. Even that you have to respect your father and mother, but if they conflict and tell you don't do that, you don't have to listen to them. Okay? So guys, that's the idea. The idea is, right, because they are commanded also to listen to the Torah and to follow the Torah and to follow God, right? Practically speaking, guys, you have to, right, do it in the right way. Be wise, right? Don't correct your parents too much, right? Be wise, ask the rabbi, right? If you're in a conflict, make sure to do it the right way. Okay, guys, let's go on. I remember before my bar mitzvah, so my father, many people do that. You go to rabbis to get a blessing, right, and advice, right? So it was a great Rosh Yeshiva over here in Bnei Brak called Rav Shach. He was the Rosh Yeshiva, is a yeshiva in Ponevezh, a yeshiva in Bnei Brak called Ponevezh, one of the largest yeshivas here in Israel. And he was a person, he was over 90. He actually, he passed away when he was 103, I guess, something like that. And before my bar mitzvah, so my father took me to him. So we went into his room. I mean, it was amazing. He was Rosh Yeshiva, and he's like the leader of the Lithuanian community. And the house was so simple, like one of the rooms here in the yeshiva, nothing, just a chair, table, and books all over the hallway, right? The room that he was sitting loaded with books. The next door room, everything was just shelves with books. And in his room where he was sitting, it was a simple chair and table, right? And a light on it, and that's it. So anyways, so he said to me, listen to this, listen Yingale, right? Listen, child, right? Don't be too smart. Listen to your parents. And whatever they told you, do. Right? That was his advice for life. Number 6. You should not kill. You should not murder, you should not kill. So, the idea, let me just explain a minute, guys. So this is one of the main things in Judaism, that we believe in life, right? Judaism is about to live life in the right way. Not to die, to live life in the right way, right? The mitzvot are given to us, right? We are, as physical people, right? To use to sanctify the spiritual, so to speak, right? To sanctify the physical. So, the rule, right? So life is number 1 in the Torah. Guys, if somebody comes, right, let's say, and says to a Jew, break Shabbat, if not I kill you. What do you do? Break Shabbat. Why? Life for them. Oh, okay, very good. So we have a verse that says, V'chai bahem, you should live with the Torah. That's the whole idea, right? You should live with the Torah, right? And the whole idea is I'll be able to do more mitzvot if I live, right? So you will accomplish, you'll grow more, right, by doing more mitzvot. So life comes first. There are 3 exceptions for that. Yeah, Matt.
I just had a question about what you just said, because during the Holocaust, weren't there people in the concentration camps and they were told, eat this pork or die, and they refused?
Okay, very good. Very good question. So the idea over there, you see, it could be that they felt at that time, you see, this is on an individual level. If somebody comes to a person and says to them, break Shabbat or eat pork, he breaks Shabbats and eats porks. But if they're fighting Judaism, right, as a religion, the whole thing changes. Because they're fighting Judaism, right, not an individual person. So that changes the whole case. Okay? What? Right, correct. Correct. Okay, guys, so the idea, right, on the individual, right, practically speaking, right, he breaks Shabbat, eats pork, right, and, right, live. And Bezat Hashem, right, he'll do even more mitzvahs in the future, right? There are 3 exceptions for that you should give your life. What are 3 exceptions?
Adultery, and they tell you to tell somebody else.
Okay, very good. So there are 3 exceptions where are in the 10 Commandments. The 3 are the 3 from the 10 Commandments. And the first one is to worship idols, meaning if they come to a Jew and say to him, bow to this statue, right? Serve this, worship this idol, and if no, we kill you, he should give his life, right? That is the first 2 commandments, right? Am Hashem your God, don't have another God, right? So if they come and the person forcing him to worship idols, he should give his life. That's number 1. Number 2 is don't kill, right? If they come to a man and say to him, kill this guy, if no, we kill you. What happens now? Is he allowed to kill that guy?
Who said that's your
Okay, very good. So that's number 2, right? You're not allowed to kill somebody else to save your own life, okay? Number 3 is act of adultery, right? That we didn't get to yet, but that's also in the 10 Commandments, right? So, okay? So those are the three exceptions. By the way, guys, listen carefully. The three exceptions is that's the right thing to do. And a Jew that did it, meaning that he didn't worship the idols, right? He gave his life. He didn't kill somebody else, right? He gave his life not to kill somebody else, right? And, right? He didn't do an act of adultery, right? He sanctified God's name and he did Kiddush Hashem, okay? But what happens if a man wasn't up to it? You know, he wasn't up to it. They're standing with a gun, whatever, with a sword, and say, you got to bow to this statue. You got to worship idols. And he did it. Would he be punished? Right. So let's say, guys, well, the source for this is that you have to give your life even. Sometimes you have to give your life. We learn it from the first verse in Shema. After we say Shema, you say, Ve'ahavta, love Hashem your God. Ve'ahavta, love Hashem your God. B'chol avavcha, with all your heart. U'v'chol nafshecha, even with your soul, even your life. So that's the source that sometimes, right, we do have to give the life for this. However, listen carefully. That's the right thing to do. Yeah, b'chol nafshecha, there are times that I have to give the life. However, if somebody wasn't up to it, and he did it because that he was forced to do it, he will not be punished. It was against his will. He didn't want to worship idols. He didn't want, right? He didn't want to kill. He didn't want to do the act of adultery. If he was forced to do it, he will not be punished. So this is a very interesting idea, guys. So you have three exceptions that you have to give your life, right? But if somebody wasn't up to it, he won't be punished because it was against his will.
What thought do you have to have if you don't do it? Like, you know you're gonna die. So what intention are you supposed to
The mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, that you're glorifying God's name, sanctifying God's name. I'll mention to you, but to be continued tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.